Good evening, friends. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live. You may be wondering right now, what does Florida's free kill law have anything to do with me? I don't live in the state of Florida, and in some cases, you may not even live in the United States. But if you've ever visited Florida or plan to visit Florida, you may be one of the 142 million people that visited Florida in 2024. And yes, this bill very much matters to you. Today is, of course, March the 18th, 2025, and the free kill fix moves forward in the Senate as survivors argue for medical malpractice reform in the state of Florida. In fact, Florida is the only state in the United States out of all 50 of our states that actually has such a barbaric and inhumane law. As our son Ethan says there in his own testimony a couple of weeks ago, he said, why would such a beautiful state like the state of Florida have such an ugly law? And I have to agree with him 100% on that. Looking at some of the statistics just real quick here, I looked into this recently, and Florida Commerce press release put out February 12, 2025, that there was 142.9 million visitors in 2024. That is still increasing, right? Well, they even break it down to the different places, even countries. 29.9 million domestic visitors, 2.5 million overseas visitors, and 742,000 Canadian visitors. That was just in the fourth quarter. It also set a new benchmark with 33.1 million visitors. So the Florida free kill law matters to you if you're 25 or older and you're not married. Let's say, for example, you have a child that goes to one of the many universities here in the state of Florida. By the way, there are 8 universities, and many times students come from around the country, and there are many students in these universities that are 25 or older and they're not married. Well, let's say an accident happens, they're in a hospital, and suddenly they end up dying due to a malpractice case there. Do you realize there's no way that you could ever get any coverage for that person? I mean, we're talking about, for example, Florida's A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida State University in Tallahassee, University of Florida in Gainesville, University of South Florida, University of Central Florida in Orlando, Florida International University in Miami, University of Miami, Florida State University, which I just mentioned, and University of West Florida in Northwest Florida in the Pensacola area. And that's not even counting the state colleges. But again, if you, and just think of the Florida residents, right? All the Florida residents that have been affected by this 35-year barbaric law that has not allowed family members to be able to get compensation for pain and suffering for the loss of their loved ones because simply they weren't married and didn't have minor children. This is absolutely insane. So we really applaud Senator Yarborough for putting together a bill to help overturn this. And this week, a lot of people spoke there. In fact, today spoke again at another subcommittee. It's the third subcommittee that's passed so far. Thursday ought to be the House subcommittee. And by the way, we are going to need your help. I'll talk to you about this at the end of the broadcast. We need your help because it is getting very expensive to carry out these frequent visits here trying to get this bill overturned. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment here. But let's listen to Senator Yarborough as he presents this bill here to yet another subcommittee on the free kill law that it is notoriously called.
This is in no way a knock against the medical profession or anyone in it, because Florida has some of the best healthcare providers and institutions in the country and beyond. I do not have a statistic to quote, but I will venture to say we likely have a low single-digit percentage of those in Florida's healthcare community that have issues with malpractice or negligence. While we all understand no amount of money can bring back a loved one, to solely argue from a monetary or economic perspective would be misplaced, because no individual and no institution is above accountability, which is exactly what this bill is about. Here.
I agree. It is about accountability. As you'll see, Yana right there behind Senator Yarborough, several others, Miss Davis behind my wife, Dr. Mahaffey to the right of my wife, and of course her son Ethan to the left, directly behind Senator Yarborough. I'm going to play real quick some of their statements that they did here. Ethan did an amazing job in his stance once again for the free Florida in fighting for the overturn of the Florida free kill law. Listen to what he says here.
Ethan Lopez. And then Jana Satuva is next.
Chairman, members of this committee,
By the way,
I
the
speak
voice
in
is
support
off.
of SB 734 to repeal Florida's free kill law. When I spoke in the Judiciary Committee earlier this month, I expressed the view that subsection 8 of Florida Statute 768.21 is a dangerous provision in the law that shields criminal actions in the medical field. In December of 2021, 2 licensed Florida physicians that my grandfather, Stefan Suto, was familiar with, not only offered but requested that he be brought to their outpatient care in Gulf Breeze, Florida, for flu-like symptoms that he was experiencing at the time. In short, these 2 physicians proceeded to inject my grandfather with 21 milliliters of IV hydrogen peroxide and administered direct ozone gas into his veins numerous times, and then additionally performed an out-of-hospital, non-cross-match blood transfusion in a hotel room. They did all of this while lying to and defrauding my grandfather and the rest of the family in every step and aspect of his care. After his death, these physicians proceeded to falsify his medical records by omitting what they gave him. My family would hire private forensic pathologist Dr. Daniel Schultz, who conducted an autopsy on my grandfather and concluded that his death was caused directly by the actions of the physicians I mentioned to you, labeling his death a homicide. A common thing I hear when I share my grandfather's story to so many people is that it sounds criminal. However, dare I say, the doctors who did this to my grandfather are being protected. Our entire family has felt that nothing has been properly looked into or taken seriously by state officials at all levels, even with the autopsy reports by Dr. Schultz on our side. This is the reason one of the very first things my mother, who's sitting right there, wanted to do was file a lawsuit. I mentioned that since the idea of grandchildren filing lawsuits was brought up here. We feel that the local state's attorney's office, medical examiner's office, and police department in where my grandfather died are all failing to respond to a serious crime, with public records even revealing investigators from these offices wishing to be as quiet as possible about my grandfather's case and even mocking our family's attempts to get justice. I mentioned in my previous speech that there are cases where law enforcement can be uncertain as to how to go about responding to criminality in the medical field. For the sake of time, I'll briefly cite the case of a physician named Dr. Ben Brown. But in my grandfather's case, they didn't even bother to try figuring it out in the first place. All of what I'm saying matters because civil lawsuits have the potential to reveal criminal wrongdoing. There's a discovery process, and Florida's free kill law denies so many families and patients of that and the rest of the civil process, our country's other form of justice other than just our criminal justice system. And even now, with all of the evidence that we have, we get the exact same answers from every attorney we speak to. Sorry, look up Florida 768.21 subsection 8. Doctors did this to your grandfather? Sorry, can't sue. So the point here, my family is being left with absolutely no justice in the state of Florida, not even civil, all due to this inhumane and barbaric free kill law. And
Must be done. Finish.
And this would not happen in all 49 other states of this country. I sincerely ask that you don't allow insurance companies and greed to decide what's right or wrong. All of you are elected by your constituents, and if an injustice happens to any of your constituents, please let them know that you support them getting their day in court. Let's let a judge and a jury decide what's right or wrong here. Repeal Florida's free kill law and vote yes on SB 734. Thank you.
Thank you.
He did an amazing job, absolutely amazing job in what he said there. I'm going to play next for you, my wife as well, as she will briefly speak here. She was actually cutting her own time short, hoping that Dr. Mahaffey would have more time to speak when she spoke. But even there, the head of the committee here was cutting the people off at the end there. He was very good at trying to keep people on track and on time. But this is such a serious and egregious law that time needs to be devoted to those people speaking, especially when these few voices of the victims' families, they're standing. Literally, these people are standing for you. Whether you're a Florida resident or not, if you ever visited Florida, if you fall into that category, they're standing for you. And so you'll find that out a little bit later in another speech here. But let me play Yana next for you.
Jana Satuva. And then Lauren Kornienko is next.
Well, hello, members of this committee. My name is Jana Sutova, and I am a daughter of Stefan Suto. You just heard from my son, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to repeat everything he said, how my daddy died, but I came here to support the bill 734. I'm asking you to support it, and I also came here to tell you that we are not only here for us and our families and our dead loved ones that died in such horrible way. We are here for you and your families. And we are here for the lobbyists here who are on behalf of insurance companies and hospitals, because they're going to tell you that money has value until this happens to them, until it is their 25-year-old daughter or until it is their mother that was killed by negligence. So please consider love is beyond the grave, and we are here for that love. Okay, and I'm asking you, please vote yes for 734 bill.
Thank you very much.
I think that was very, very well put, especially when my wife pointed back to the lobbyists, clearly showing they're there for the money, but it's different when it happens to you, and that cannot be stated enough in this here. Dr. Mahaffey also came up. She is a 30-year doctor, retired now, and she spoke. Her husband, a captain in the military who is a surgeon in Florida as well, listened to her comments, and sadly, they cut her off. Not even halfway through her speech here, and they cut her off. They definitely do not want to hear from a doctor, I suppose. Listen in.
Mahaffey.
Mahaffey.
Yeah, thank you. Very quick, please.
Yeah, I know. Hi, my name is Dr. Teresa Mahaffey. I've been a physician in Florida for the last 29 years. Spent all that time in the Pensacola area. I have never heard of this law until I met my friend Jana, and I am appalled. I am here as a physician in full support of SB 734 to repeal Florida's free kill law. In my own career, I've witnessed fellow physicians display carelessness and indifference to the well-being of their patients. I've had instances where they've berated parents, and I've had to sort out the issues with those children. Not long ago, a surgeon in the area where I practice removed the liver of a tourist during an operation intended to remove his spleen. So these egregious acts are what we're here for today. These types of physicians are stains in our profession. This is a matter of basic ethics. One thing I must mention, in my 30 years of practice, I have never heard of Florida's free kill law. I couldn't believe it was real when I first heard about it. Other physicians who I know had not heard about it at all. And I was wondering if this was taught in the FSU medical school curriculum here in Tallahassee, where I was an adjunct professor for 20 years.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
That was Dr. Mahaffey there, and as you can see, she was not very happy with the moderator there cutting her off like that, and it was totally uncalled for, because here we have a doctor finally standing up, a Florida physician standing up for those families, as you can see in the background there, that so appreciated her coming today. And standing up to overturn Florida's free kill law, and standing up for Senator Yarborough's amendment that he was putting in to this here. So that was very troubling for us to see that happen there. I want to also play for you here. This is Senator Harrel. Now, she opposes it so much behind the money that is so doubt making her do her talking, and I want to play a clip of Senator Harrell here for you. Listen in.
And put accountability in our system, and we've heard that again and again. And my heart goes out to every single case we heard. I absolutely hear you. But if you really want to put accountability into this bill, into the system, the Board of Medicine, ACA, is where we need to do that. We have been trying to recruit people to Florida. We've spent $500 million this last year, thanks to President Pasadomo and the Live Healthy bill.
Now, that is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And she's going to, let me just see if I can play it. Let's see if she says it here. She's going to give you that 3 strikes and they're out. Listen to
We are
this.
desperately in need of physicians. If this bill passes, we are going to have an increase in medical malpractice. We are already the highest in the country, and it will continue. I am very concerned that when we talk about estranged children, the judge has the ability to preclude any mention of that and say it's not relevant if that's brought up. There's so many things wrong with this bill. If we were really to put accountability in it, empower the Board of Medicine. We have 3 strikes as you're out. Let's empower the Board of Medicine to really make sure.
That's about the most absurd statement I've ever heard. The medical board, 3 strikes and you're out. Do you not realize that this malpractice is not just injuring, but it is the ones that die as a result, 25 or older. If you're not married, you have no minor children, and you die in a Florida healthcare and it's determined it is malpractice, or in our case, homicide, they're saying 3 strikes. She wants to put it in the medical board's hands to determine how that you get justice. By the way, the medical board, you're not allowed to be a part as a family member. You're not allowed to be a part of that particular process. You have no say in it, and you won't hear about anything until they're done, whether the medical board determined if they were guilty or not guilty and removed their medical license. But like she said, 3 strikes and you're out. In other words, you can kill 3 people and then we'll deal with it. I mean, that is the most absurd thing I have ever heard come out of a senator's mouth in the state of Florida. Listen, and by the way, as I said, whether you're a resident of Florida, whether you're in this lady's district or not, if you are a visitor, even from another country, this senator should be called and explain to her that you are not for it. And here's her, this is the website about her on the floridasenate.gov. You have, and I'll blow it up for you. You've got her contact information right here, 772-221-4019. And she's down there in the Palm Beach area, St. Lucie area, the Martin County area is her area there. But you could reach her. You could also fax her at 888-263-7895 and just let her know. Say, even as a visitor of the 142 million visitors to Florida, I disagree with your stance completely. Somebody needs to let her know. I really believe that wholeheartedly. Now, let's move on here. We are now going to be taking a peek. I think we're going to be looking at Senator Darrell Rusin and a comment that he made. Let's listen in.
Senator Rusin, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I'll see this bill again in rules, but I want to honor the victims, the courageous family members that came forward today. This bill is about justice. It's about accountability. It's about the truth. Litigation does not have to increase. Physicians need only heed the signs, do a better job in practice, and avoid egregious errors. The milestone moment will be when this bill passes off the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So nice of Senator Rusin to make that statement. My wife and son got to meet him. Very, very precious man there. He is got an amazing story. I won't go into that as of right now. Anyway, the Florida Senate moves to close the medical malpractice loophole there. This news article coming out on ABC. Thank you for ABC for covering this. And again, I want to come back to the Florida politics article here. I think when we first brought the article up, there were, they actually even quote, let me go back here to the beginning here. I didn't get into all of this here, but they actually quoted our son, but they didn't even do his name right at all. Ethan Lopez is his last name. He is changing his name to his grandfather's name because his grandfather raised him from a little boy. And this is one reason why we also are against the idea that grandchildren could collect or could be part of a lawsuit. Even not only that, but too, they talked about the estranged children. There's many cases where parents abandon their kids, but the kids never lose the love for that parent, but they may become estranged. But then something evil happens to the parent. Where's the justice in this? You know, everything needs to be, I understand the concern, but it does need to be evaluated independently. Anyway, Ethan said here, they quoted him here, described the malpractice for his grandfather that included injection of H2O2. I can't really say much about that because YouTube's so... even when you're trying to do the right thing and you're saying it's wrong, they still try to criticize you for just playing it. We had a video strike over that already, which an autopsy deemed to be a homicide, but which was protected under current law. Civil lawsuits have an opportunity to reveal criminal wrongdoing, Lopez said, adding that his family is being left without justice due to the current inhumane and barbaric free kill law. But anyway, what I want to get to as well is where this was where David Micah Jr. made this statement here, and then I want to, it's fascinating that he says this. He says, you're seeing the highest rates in the country in Miami-Dade County in 4 categories: family practice, emergency room physicians, orthopedics, and we've talked about obstetricians, said David Micah Jr., Executive Vice President of Public Affairs at Florida Hospital Association. Now, he says they have the highest malpractice rates in the country. Well, let's find out exactly why. This here is Elisa Jaron, and I want you to hear what she has to say because her father died in one of those hospitals down in that area there, North Shore Medical, and you will understand why that is the case.
Vulnerable communities, told they have a voice. But it doesn't matter because they can't afford to come here and speak up for themselves. People like Jacqueline Reddings, Gladys Crawford, and then also Joyce Maffett, they were killed at North Shore Medical Center, just like my father, just over the last couple of years. There are facilities in these low-income neighborhoods, these minority neighborhoods, and it puts there's a target on them. North Shore Medical Center is called the death hospital. They say go in with a headache, come out on life support.
There you go. She said North Shore Medical is called the death hospital. No wonder. No wonder. So like I said, whether you're a tourist or whatever you may be, your voice needs to be heard in Florida. Even if you live overseas, Florida is one of the #1 destinations in the world as far as the United States for international tourism. It ranks up there extremely high. And it's one of the top in the United States of tourist destination as well. Anyway, listen, this has gotten, it's a costly endeavor. As the lady said there, many people can't even come and share their testimonies, their voices, because of the cost itself. And it's expensive. My wife is having to stay and my son stay another 2 nights because there's another committee hearing on Thursday. We're asking your support. Come right here to our website, preferably donate online. It would greatly help because we live off of your support to begin with. That is what makes our ministry continue to go. And so we're asking for your help here. This is the second time having to travel to Florida, and the cost and the stays and stuff, it's expensive, and it is a financial burden on us to try to do that. But again, we're fighting for you. We're fighting for Floridians. We are fighting for the tourists that go to Florida. And heaven forbid that that ever happens to your family or loved ones. And we're so close to helping those families, like this lady here that you just heard from, Miss Jaron, like Miss Davis, many others that spoke today. We're here fighting for you. We're even, as my wife said, fighting for those lobbyists that are trying to keep the law because it's not affected them as of yet. So if you would, right there, click on that donate link right there. That will take you to our link there. You can use any debit or credit card and you can donate online. Your help is needed tonight. And we so greatly appreciate your help. God bless you. If you prefer to do it by mail, you can. Please include your phone number on there so that I can reach out to you and thank you personally for your contribution. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News.